Hello there my friends, and welcome back to the channel. Today I just wanted to show you a really interesting little sewing machine that I came across. This belongs to one of my students and I've never seen a machine like this before, so I just wanted to show you guys. It's really unique. It's made by a company called Best Choice Products, and there's a few different model numbers that it goes by, but it's marketed as a portable compact machine, and it is definitely that. This thing probably weighs maybe 5 pounds. It's super light, it's super small, it's super simplified. So I'm going to show you all the things that it does and how to thread it and use it. So let's get started. Okay, so let's see what all this machine has. So here's the foot pedal. You can see it's very lightweight. I plugged that into the back here along with the power. Also very interesting is you can actually run this machine on batteries, and it just takes AA's. Super, super lightweight. You will notice it doesn't have a compartment to pull off here on the front like many machines have. They still consider this to be using a free arm, because it is. You can slip your fabric in under there. There's just no compartment to remove, and there's no little storage compartment here. But what is super unique about this machine, I just love this. There's a little drawer on the side that is just so unique. Okay, so what we have on the front of this machine here is we have our stitch selector dial. So I have the number 1 lined up with the arrow, so that's going to give us the number 1 stitch, which is a straight stitch. So you can see the whole first row, the 1 through 4, are all straight stitches. The first one being a tighter stitch length, second one being a more medium stitch length, third one being more like a basting stitch, a longer stitch length. So this is how they give you options for stitch length without giving you an actual dial to control the stitch length. Same with stitch width, they don't give you that, but they do give you this stitch here, which is a straight stitch that is off to the left. So since you can't control needle position, they did give you that, so you still have that capability. So you would just turn the dial here from 1 to whatever number you want on this little image. So these are the things it can do. So that's your reverse button, so you would just hold this down and hit the pedal and it will go backwards. It has centimeter measuring on the front, which is kind of cool. Other than that, it doesn't have a whole lot of things it does. It has this flywheel, and then it has a bobbin winder up here, so you can wind a bobbin. It comes with a very tiny spool cap, so you're going to be kind of limited in what thread spools you can use, unless maybe you could try a taller one and it won't fly off, but in order to use the spool cap on this little tiny spool pin, you're going to only be able to use little thread. So there's a little image here that is indicating that that's the thread cutting blade. So that works. Here's the light. They actually have this on a separate switch. Interesting. Here's the presser foot, so it looks pretty decent, pretty standard. I'm going to get the needle out of there by turning the hand wheel, and I'm going to hit the button back here and the presser foot should fall off. So this is nice. You can change out your presser feet, and this just takes what looks like any low shank presser foot. So if you want to put your presser foot back on, you line up that little bar with this little divot here, and then you lower this down. Oops. Lower this down with your presser foot lever slowly as you make sure that's going to line up, that divot with that. And then when it's lined up and that's dropped down, you just press this and it'll click on. So then when you raise it, it's attached. I wanted to show you this needle set screw because if you take it off and you don't know how to get it back on, the manual doesn't really show you what to do. So I'm going to unscrew this set screw. And the needle's going to come out. The needle, it takes a flat back needle, so the flat part goes to the back, the round part goes towards you. Okay, we're going to take that out. Okay, now there's a bunch of parts here. So if you were to accidentally unscrew this all the way, here's what would fall off. This is the bracket that goes around the needle shank, and then this goes to the top, and then there's a little nut in here. So if the little nut falls out, it needs to go inside this bracket and up against that hole that points to the side. So I'm going to put it back in. I take the little nut and turn this bracket to the side, which is, this is the side, this is the top, this is the bottom. So I'm going to take this little nut and drop it in. Okay, so the little nut is inside there, lined up with that hole. Okay. Okay, so here's the bracket with the little nut lined up inside there at the hole. So I'm going to put these two holes, the shank is going to go through those two holes with that little donut shape going up. So I'm going to slide the shank in here like this. Okay, and there's the opening. I'm going to make it go to the side and then put the needle set screw in there. So you may want to turn the wheel so that it goes down further. That'll give you some more room to work with. So then I'll take the needle set screw and put it in the hole here, making sure it goes into that nut. And I'm going to tighten it onto the shank. And it's going into a hole on the shank. So now it's semi-secure. Now I'm going to take my needle with the flat side to the back. So there's the flat side. I'm going to spin that around so it's away from me to the back. And to put this needle in, I'm going to raise the needle bar a little bit by rotating the hand wheel on the side of the machine. And then we need to stick the needle up into this shank. But first, sometimes you have to put the pointy part down in so that you have room to move. Okay, so stick the pointy part down in the machine and then just bring the top of the needle right up into that hole. Okay, so you just shove it up in there, make sure it's up as far as it'll go. And then you need to get all this lined up again and then tighten that set screw and making sure you don't let the needle fall. Okay, looks like it's in there securely. Let's thread it. So we'll take some thread and stick it on the spool pin back here. Then take the spool cap and stick it on top. So it's going under the little pointed part of the guide and then up and then around the little tension disc like that. And then it's going to come down this first channel, and you can see they marked that with a number 1. So we're going to come down the first channel, come through these tension discs here, so kind of make sure it lays in there deeply. If you look down here, you'll see a little shape marked with a number 2. that's showing the thread coming around and back up. So we're going to come around here and back up this next channel. And the take-up lever should always be in the highest position before you start. So I'm going to rotate the wheel on the side here to get that up high. There it is. And then here's our image marked with a 3. It shows the thread going through the take-up lever. So there's a little hole, and you just have to stick the thread through from right to left, like that. And then it comes back down this channel. Then we have a number 4 that shows that's right. We're time to go straight down. Remember that little hole on the needle bracket that we took out? They want us to put the thread through that little hole from top to bottom. That one. So I'm going to lower the needle, make it easier. There we go. So the thread's going in that little hole. And I'm going to raise the needle back up. And I'm going to thread the needle from front to back. Then your thread should go through the slot on the front of the presser foot so that it can lay underneath the presser foot. Let's take a look inside the bobbin area. You can loosen these screws on the throat plate. You can take the presser foot off by hitting that thing on the back, just to give us more room. Okay. So here's our needle plate, throat plate. Here is our bobbin case, which is very simplified, and it doesn't really have a little spring box to butt up against. So it was hard for me to figure out which way this went in once it was taken out, but I aligned it so that the open part of the bobbin case was where the needle would need to go down. And then I think where this little triangle hits on is actually this shape here instead of the typical spring box that would be right here. So that's that. You can get in here and clean periodically. It's just ultra simplified. It's kind of interesting. So let's put this back on. So this little triangle pointy thing that sticks off the black bobbin case, I think that what needs to happen is it needs to butt up against this shape on the underside of the plate. So when this is upside down and it goes in there, that little triangle has to butt up against that shape. So although you can't see it, you just got to kind of try to make that happen. So you might have to actually look for the opening on the black bobbin case and turn the wheel, and you can actually hold this down until it gets to the right place. So if you start with that little triangle thing rotated this way a little bit, then once you put the plate on, you can rotate the bobbin case by putting your finger in there so that little triangle butts up against that little thing we can't see that's right here, and then it works. So then the goal is for you to be able to hold this down or have it screwed in, and when you turn the wheel, the needle goes up and down and the black bobbin case doesn't move. So you might have to actually make that happen by holding onto it and moving it around in here while you're turning the wheel. It's not like a normal machine, but if you do that and you can see what it needs to do, it can work. You might have to mess with it a few times before you get it, but this is how it should work. The needle goes down, doesn't hit anything, comes back up. And the black part is pretty much staying stationary while the silver part underneath rotates. Once you get that, put your screws back in. Okay, so now the manual didn't say which way to put the bobbin in, but for most machines it's counterclockwise. So the thread should be going counterclockwise on the bobbin when you put it in. So if it's not, just flip it over so it is, and just put it down in here. So then normally when we are doing this, we'll hold on to this thread with your left hand and then turn the wheel usually towards you. I was shocked that the manual said to do it away from you. I tried it towards me the other day. Let's try it away from us. Okay, so I'm holding onto the needle thread with my left hand, and then I have my right hand on this wheel. And I'm just going to try turning it away from me because that's what it said. Holding onto the other one, it's going to go down, and then once it comes back up, it should have that bobbin thread. It didn't work. Let's try again. No, it didn't work. Let's try towards us. Look at that. So don't listen to the manual. Turn the wheel towards you to pull up the bobbin thread. So the goal of what we just did was to make the needle go down into the bobbin area to get the bobbin thread for us. Now both of these need to go in between that slot and just underneath the presser foot here. Okay, so we're all threaded and ready to go. We just have to put our little door back on. All right, so let's try it. Put some cotton fabric under the presser foot and lower it down. I'm gonna just take the first rotation by hand. So I'm turning the wheel towards me, needle's going down in the fabric, coming back up, everything looks good. Let's hit the pedal. Okay, it was working, and then the thread broke. So I'm going to take the tension from 8 and I'm going to put it down to like 6.5. Let's see if a lower needle tension helps it. It did make a stitch though, on the front and the back. It looks good. Okay, I'm just going to rethread the machine. Alright, let's try this again. Presser foot down. Okay, I'm going to hit the pedal. Okay, it is sewing. It hasn't broken yet. Let's keep going. Okay, I didn't want to try this feature out without fabric under it, but I'm going to switch this and let's just watch it sew on its own. It's pretty neat. If you aren't a person that wants to use a pedal on the floor, you can just do that. Let's try out one of these other stitches, like maybe the zigzag. So if I want the zigzag, I need number 12. Okay, let's try it. The thread broke again, so I'm going to change this to 5.5. And also just look for anywhere where the thread might be snagging or hanging up. Sometimes you can see it's been wrapped around the spool pin. Just check for things like that if you're having a lot of breakages. And we can also try lowering our tension. Oops. There we go. So let's try our zigzag. So for a zigzag, you can see the needle jumps from side to side. That's how it makes the zigzag pattern. Alright, let's hit the pedal. Alright, I'm going to hit the pedal. And it's working. I also notice it's very, very tight when I try to pull from the needle thread and get it to come through. So I decided to try to put it around this guide in a different way from how they suggest. On a normal machine, you wouldn't take the thread around this little circle thing that's usually only used for bobbin winding, and it's causing it to not be able to feed through very easily at all. So I'm going to try having the thread just lay right here and come around the plastic, like come around the back of it like this. And I'm going to see if it can feed better like that. So when I pull on it, it feeds a lot easier. I think this will help. I'm going to try it. I think threading it around there definitely made it feed easier, so I would recommend doing that instead of how they show it. Alright my friends, so there you have it. That is how you use this little machine made by Best Choice Products. If you have any more information about this interesting little thing, leave it in the comments below. If you have any questions, leave those below too. If you liked this video, please give it a like. Please hit the subscribe button for me. It really helps out the channel and it really motivates me to keep making videos and to know what you guys are into. So thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you next time.